Good morning and welcome to the latest episode of the NORA Webcast series. The Webcast series, as with the NORAs themselves, is all about focusing on the recruitment websites that deliver the most or the highest level of excellence in online recruitment for candidates and job seekers out there. In the awards event, which is now coming up to its 20th awards event on the 10th of November, we like to focus on the sites that offer that level of online recruitment excellence and throw a spotlight on them, and by doing so, give an example to others. And the purpose of the webcast series is to do that in a bit more detail. So without too much further ado, my very good friend and my special guest for today, Noura Dadzie, I'd like to invite to the screen. Noura, good morning. How the devil are you?
How are you? I'm really well, thank you, Stephen. Really
fantastic.
Good. Thank you.
That's good to hear.
Me. Thank you for having me.
It's been a crazy year, and of course the whole world has been tipped on its head. But recruitment goes on. Whilst there's a lot of employment challenges out there, your company, Talent.com, is still very new. It's very new to the market, but has been making a big impact very quickly. We know that Talent.com, as we say, it's a new brand, is a finalist for our Best Newcomer Award this year. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Incidentally, this is a Best Generalist, so it's a different trophy, but this is from a previous year. This was I have, as you can see behind me, I have some spare trophies from previous years. Often we'll have slight flaws in them and we'll get them remanufactured. So the spares tend to lie around the office.
Nice. Well, we're excited about that, Stephen. Definitely excited to be in the finalists. So thank you for, thank you to everybody who's contributed towards us being shortlisted.
Absolutely. So the nomination process for the NORAs obviously begins with job seekers, with candidates themselves. We ask candidates to nominate the favorite websites that they have in each category. And this year, despite the fact that everything that's been going on, we've had, I think the number is 7,436 nominations from the public for 503 separate recruitment websites. So of those over 500 recruitment websites that have been boiled down to the finalists in each category, I think maybe only 1 in 8 of those nominated were shortlisted as finalists. There's a lot of competition, and particularly in the award that you're up for, because of course Best Newcomer is a big thing. Can I ask, because Talent.com has made such a big impact so quickly, people might assume that it's been around for a long time. Can you give me a bit of an idea as to the history and evolution of Talent.com?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, for me personally, just for those that don't know, I've been with the business for just a little over 2 years now, having come from a background of working within the recruitment industry for past 15 years, and worked a full breadth of different businesses within this space.
Yeah.
Talent.com is originally known as Neuvoo. You probably remember that name from last year, at least, Stephen, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Not many people, I think. Well, put it this way, it had its popularity in certain countries and different markets. I think we were doing and still are doing extremely well with various job boards, etc. But we found that a lot of companies, or people for that matter, couldn't really pronounce it even. So in certain markets, it was pronounced all different ways. We needed something a little bit more universal, something that would resonate with people across the world. So although we established in 2011 and used Neuvoo for all that time up until the start of this year, we're going through a transition now into Talent.com. And that's a really strong brand. It's kind of sitting in the right place within the industry. It says what it does on the tin, really. It's about the talent out there. So we're really excited to be transitioning now into this great new brand.
Yeah, I have to say, as URLs go, Talent.com is really pretty unique. Maybe the only other one would be if you had jobs.com or something, but Talent.com is right on the nail. Just from anyone who's ever bought a domain in the past, if you could get your hands on a domain like that. So first of all, getting your hands on a domain like that is obviously crucial, because it says exactly what you're about, is the talent. But then building your brand on that and putting your platform behind that is obviously crucial. A domain like that promises a lot because you would expect big things because it's such, it's an iconic name.
Absolutely.
So you need to become the brand, and in a short space of time, how have you been able to do that? Tell me about the international nature of Talent.com.
Yeah, sure. So initially established in 2011. However, since we transitioned into the brand, we're still out there as Neuvoo as well. So we're going through a transitional process at the moment.
Okay.
That's really important to us because we value, of course, how our users behave and use our sites. So we're ensuring we're kind of moving those along slowly onto Talent, getting them familiar with the brand, and then, of course, adding to that and exposing the new brand. So this year, particularly next year, is going to be big for pushing the brand. And we've got a lot of plans, particularly when we had the recent investment from a pension fund company. And that's going to help us to further develop the product, but also to help us push this brand name as well.
Yeah.
It's already seems to be doing really well. So I think we'll continue to see that improve. We get, to give you an idea on the general visits to the site. So we're doing over 70 million visits at any one time to our site. So a lot of people don't realize that.
Is that a monthly figure?
That is indeed, yes. Over 70 million visits. There's over 60,000 companies indexed at any one time. Over 12 million jobs that are searchable on our site. So we're in over
12 million.
Yeah. So we're a lot bigger than anybody really knows in the marketplace today. Globally, we're sitting around fifth. UK in terms of aggregators, we are sitting second pretty much in terms of aggregators. And the employees has gone up as well. So that's testament to all the work that we're all doing and how we're performing. But we've kind of grown our teams. We're currently about, well, when I started, Stephen, I think we was 150 employees. That was back in 2018 in October.
Yeah.
And then throughout last year, we went to 200 by the end of that year. And this year, despite being at COVID and very difficult times for us all, we've added about 70 people across the globe in terms of headcount. So we're definitely bigger than people think, and we've got 5 offices, headquartered out in Montreal, second HQ in Switzerland, then our local hubs in individual countries. The individual hubs really, and I mean one of them obviously in the UK, that's been driven by the market demand. So initially we've always been working, of course, with, like we say, the job boards, etc. But the market demands for more. So what's happened now is they've seen lots of interest from employers directly as well as staffing companies. And that's basically drawn us to kind of come in and start building teams on the ground as well. So we have teams in France, all the tier 1 countries like in Germany, UK and so on. And I basically look after UK and as well as some of the international markets, APAC, particularly Australia and India, and also South Africa.
I would imagine in other times that might mean a degree of traveling, but there'll be a lot less traveling than.
Yes, it's all online at the moment, so I'm bracing myself for next year.
Yeah. So with an organization headquartered in Canada, but with in Switzerland and offices around the world, that's a big thing to set up so quickly. Well, as you say, Neuvoo had been going since 2011 before that, but it's a big organization. It's not some job boards, might claim to have 1,000 or a couple of thousand staff, and so on. So I would imagine it's pretty lean. But you've made a big impact in a short space of time. The vacancies that there are, you mentioned there, how many was it? Millions of vacancies online?
Yeah, we've got about 12 million globally, so across the 80 countries that we featured on.
So where are the strong countries for talent, and where does the UK feature in that? Yeah,
sure. So for us, we've got our tiered countries, which kind of sit in different brackets. Europe is really strong for us. So but also like Canada, of course, that's where it's headquartered. So Canada's very strong. US, we're doing phenomenal things, over 20 million visits at any, visits to the site per month. When we look at Europe, France, Germany, UK is very strong. Switzerland's doing great things. Even Spain and Italy. We have pockets in various countries, whether it be Austria, whether it be in Singapore. So the most amazing thing about us is I think that the way our business is structured and the way customers use us and how we actually drive the traffic, it's so targeted and focused on the customer.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about visits to the site, yes, it sounds amazing, but ultimately it's always about what are we delivering to that customer in particular.
Yeah, conversions.
And there's different ways that we do that to ensure that. But if you're saying how are we doing in the UK, definitely we're doing really well in terms of visits.
Yeah.
For UK, we're sitting around the 5 million mark. It dipped a little bit during this year.
Of course.
But again, our concentration is purely on the clients investing. And that's basically where we invest more money to ensure they get that traffic.
Yeah. So in terms of niche sectors, well, actually, if I can backtrack a little bit, sure. People might ask, there are lots of definitions or lots of types of job boards where a candidate might go to and search for vacancies, whether it be an out-and-out aggregator or a job board or an employer or recruitment agency website. How, within Talent.com, how do you define what Talent.com is in that space?
Yeah, sure. So for us, I mean, we define ourselves as a job search engine, very much an aggregator.
Okay.
We've got one mission, really, Stephen. So for us, it's about collating all of the jobs out there in the web, bringing them all into one place, regardless of where they're coming from, whether they're from job board staffing companies or corporate businesses, making them accessible to job seekers wherever they might be in the world. So giving them one platform that they can come to, run a search and find what they need. And so on the flip side, it's helping our clients get to the candidates faster and for job seekers to find that placement a lot quicker. So we really want to be that platform where we're covering more markets and we're giving accessibility to the right jobs for the candidates.
So your immediate competitors would be the other big aggregators out there, and there's obviously a particular big one beginning with I that we all know about. They would be your main competitors, and you would be setting out to differentiate yourself from them. On the candidate side of things, what would you say is the main differentiator that sets you apart for job seekers?
Yeah, I think for us, if you look at our site, firstly, it's definitely a nice, easy to use interface. We try and keep it very simple. At the same time, we want it to be easy for the candidates to be able to spot simple things like, how do I break down where my jobs are coming from? You know, we want the flexibility and freedom to apply to jobs wherever they might be coming from whatever sources. We also like to, where we're going this year with the new brand especially, of course, we've got our tax and salary calculators, which are super popular amongst the users out there. The salary calculator is cool because you can come in, type in a job, just as if you were looking for a job, where and what, and you can see what sort of salary range you'd be eligible for. So you can start to understand what you're worth. And I think that's really important, especially when we look at things like diversity in different sexes and different salary ranges. It's really important that there's some transparency out there into what you should be earning. So I think that's a really important factor. And also the other piece, which is really cool, is the tax calculator. You know, and that's really great for people coming into work who probably don't understand it as much. A big portion of our visitors, I think they account for about 30% of graduates, etc. But understanding things like, you know, what am I going to be earning after tax? What's the net earnings? So you're able to plug that in again and see what's going on that. So that's super popular as well. What we are going to be doing and what we're going to be focusing more on moving forward with this new brand is really being more educational for our candidates or job seekers. So it's going to be more about building that relationship with them, ensuring that we're equipping them with the words, so they understand the industries or the jobs they're applying to, and advising them as to how to get the most out of their careers. We should see more satellite pages created on the site.
It's often the case that with big sites covering all the sectors, they do tend to focus on, you know, just delivering the jobs and not delivering any ancillary information about individual niche markets, and expecting that candidates in those niche markets would go to niche sites for that. But there's no reason why a big site wouldn't be able to deliver that information. If you know the candidate, if you know what they're searching for, where they're searching for it, if you're learning about the individual, then you can tailor the content that you put in front of them about say, the accountancy sector in Brighton or manufacturing in Manchester. If you have that information, then there's no reason why you can't tailor that for them. So
I totally agree, Stephen.
That's what you're planning for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's no longer just about, okay, let's whiz some jobs over, which we do, and we do brilliantly in terms of the match. We understand what a candidate's looking for. We'll fire out the jobs that are relevant to them. But I think we want to go a bit beyond that, not just on the satellite page on our site, but the type of information that we take back to them via email is really important and crucial as well.
Yeah.
So become a trusted source. The place to go is the number one thing for us.
One of the biggest things for candidates on job boards, and I recommend this to anyone who's in talent acquisition or recruitment in any way, is go and try and search and apply for a job yourself, especially on your own website, because usually it's a revelation. It can seem really much more difficult. Well, in practice, it can be much more difficult than it seems to recruiters. But when candidates go on job boards, typically, they might see a vacancy and think, well, that's great, I'll apply for that. They see another job, looks similar, but different. It's from a different place, so I'll apply for that as well. And before they know it, they've applied for the same job several times because it's come from different sources. When they're looking on Talent.com, as you were saying before, the ability to filter by source is really unique. So being able to say, well, only show me vacancies that have come from job boards or from staffing companies or from employers themselves. So if you're able to filter it out and just look at vacancies from employers, then obviously the name recognition of those employers is going to be a big thing for candidates. They're going to be able to know exactly who's looking for a job and where, go directly to that source. Sometimes it's impossible to go directly to a company, so going through an agency is a better way, especially if you're looking for contract and temporary work.
Certainly. And also if you're looking for like a particular salary, sometimes people like staffing companies, I think they're able to, they're the one place you can actually go to and actually make a point and say, hey, I'm looking for X. This is what I'm worth, this is where my experience lies. And you let them do that part of the work. So I definitely still see a lot of value in staffing, and we do get a lot of searches under that as well.
This year, for obvious reasons with the pandemic, a lot of people are finding themselves either already on the market and looking for something else because they've been laid off or they're furloughed, and they're thinking, I can see the writing on the wall. So a lot of people are on the market when they didn't expect to be this time last year, and maybe they haven't been on the market for quite some time. So being able to work out, well, what's the going rate? Was I being paid the going rate? Was I being underpaid or overpaid even? And if I'm looking for a job elsewhere, what should I expect? Because that can have a big factor play a big factor in deciding, well, can I go for these jobs? Can I afford to live on these jobs if I got one elsewhere? Should I even maybe consider moving to a different part of the country where more work is that pays better, or the cost of living is different? So that salary calculator is really vital there, and the more information that goes into it, the more accurate it's going to be. So having your reach to pull in that information, how are you able to gather the information for salaries?
So with the salaries, a lot of the stuff that you see in there is from the candidates' information that they have already given us. But we're also able to pick up based on, we do calculation on, what everybody's offering. And that also helps us to gauge what that is as well. And I feel that we've done so well in terms of getting that accurate. The more we build upon that, the more accurate that will become as well. So we always give like a range as well. But I think that's going to be a vital tool for us to continue to develop. We love the fact people love it. It's funny because I play around with it. Believe it or not, Stephen. I don't know if you've tried it for yourself, but
I'm looking at it just now. So on a quick job search, I've done a quick job search, and I've clicked on salaries for social workers. So it says average salary 53,000, almost 54,000, but it gives you a low and a high, and then it's got the breakdown on what that would mean in terms of tax, and you can split that into monthly, weekly. So you can budget accordingly. But if you were, and social worker is the type of job where across the country you will find relatively regular salary bands, because mostly you're working for local authorities. But if you were working as a solicitor or a design engineer or a salesperson, then you can find big fluctuations depending on where you are in the country. If you're living in London, then you would expect there to be more of a London weighting.
Exactly.
But of course, being able to afford to live in London, you need that salary. Otherwise, you just can't. So all of the decision-making processes need this information for people to make informed decisions, and having that is essential. So, as you say, because at any one time you're gathering in huge amounts of data on vacancies that are being posted, what Talent.com appears to be doing is using that information and making sense of it to then share with candidates, so candidates have a better understanding of the marketplace.
Yeah, totally, Stephen. Totally. It's all about gathering the data and using that intelligence to kind of feed it back in a way that a candidate or a user, job seeker, can understand it. And it's definitely helping. I see it being a very popular tool. It's really hard, I think, to come up with ideas or something that is different from what stands out. And every aggregator, as you can imagine, has something a little bit different.
Yeah.
But for us, that's quite unique to what we do. And people just doing a search could just quite easily come up with our site and just be coming to that. And that's how we gather a lot of users as well. So we get a lot of registrations from people that way, which is good.
So when employers' vacancies are on the site, are those being found and gathered from employers' own websites, or are they posting directly to Talent.com?
They're being found, a lot of them. Depends on how they've approached us, or the other way around, if you like. So as an aggregator, we will pull all the jobs. How we do that, which is probably one of the things we can cover as well, is we've got thousands of jobs, like I say, over 60,000 at any one time. So we do have a two-step process to that. The first part is, machine learning or AI, if you like. So we're able to identify jobs that we don't have.
Okay.
So we've got a piece of technology that allows us to identify those jobs and find those jobs that are not on the platform. And then the other part of it is we did develop like a piece of technology that allows us to also get these jobs on from the employers directly. So a lot of aggregators out there, they're able to kind of work on XML feeds. We're not reliant on just the XML feed. And we're able to go directly and pull these jobs with the tech that we have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've got a team that backs that and ensures that does well. It's a headcount is about 60 strong. We're looking to double that next year. So we're already looking for more people. And their job is also to look at the quality assurance to ensure those jobs are good for candidates, they're live, etc., and so on. Yeah. So we do have that as well. So, and that's a very crucial part of our team. So, like you said, Stephen, it's like so many pockets and things that happen in the background. That in the forefront it looks like quite simple, but there is so many moving parts that really matter and kind of gel together.
So, when a candidate finds a job that they like the look of on Talent, are they always taken outside, or can they apply for jobs within Talent? What's the process there?
It's to the preference of the customer. So ultimately, we get a lot of customers telling us they want to redirect back to their website, which for us works brilliantly because we want to make sure we can just get that candidate to where they want them into their own systems. The shorter that journey, the better. So despite of where they might be coming from, we make sure that we can deliver that candidate. So ultimately, tracking is very important to us, and there's lots of different ways people can track. We've integrated with a number of ATSs and CRM systems, which is also working for us. Yeah, so like Smart Recruiters, Job Diva, just to name a couple, Broadbean, Logicman, etc. Bullhorn. So it allows people to very easily have candidates go through onto their platform, or we can actually capture that data and it feeds through if it's a full integration.
Yeah, and on the other side, does that ATS allow the employers to post directly out that goes to Talent.com?
Yes, they can either post out direct through, or we can actually do the scrape with the tech we have, pull the jobs, and then feedback. So we try and keep it as simple as they'd like. Some people want an email application, so they want these emails, CVs to go into an inbox. Some people want us to host the job on our site, so we can do that. So a lot of flexibility around that. Absolutely, yeah.
I always thought that aggregators sounds like a more technical thing than candidates want to be thinking about. They just want to find jobs, apply for jobs, and so on. And they're not too bothered about the mechanics of how it comes together. Yes, the interface needs to be clean and clear, but that problem I was mentioning before about potentially applying for the same job multiple times. Whenever a candidate is looking for a vacancy and they find that they have to go to multiple websites, whether it be job boards, employers, recruitment agencies, and so on, that's a lot of work. And essentially, what you've got there is it's a bit like a broken mirror, and a good aggregator puts all those pieces together. And puts it back together, so when a candidate is searching, they can be confident that when I'm searching for a job as a design engineer in Milton Keynes, that what I'm looking at is a fair representation of all or almost all the design engineer jobs that would be relevant to me in Milton Keynes. I don't have to go to all the other sites. I don't have to drag around to find the jobs that aren't listed on this good aggregator. And as I say, if Talent does that, then it takes the it takes the bother out of the process, but also means that candidates can get comfortable with the process because they're using one main website rather than another. So what would you say is the key differentiator that locks someone in? They've found Talent.com. They've carried out the first couple of searches. Why would they be coming back the next day and the next day and the next day?
I think definitely for the ease of use of the site, first and foremost. I think also the way that we actually remarket back jobs to them to ensure that we're kind of aware that they're looking and continue to send the right jobs to them that match the criteria of what they're looking for. So I think we draw them back a lot that way as well. And if we're doing that well, I think that makes a big difference. So it's just being at the forefront of their needs, remarketing these jobs, keeping the site as simple as possible, making sure that with the attention to details there. And which searches, the algorithm is really strong, a strong one that we have. So that delivers really great results. And we never want to just stop at that, Stephen. We want to make sure that we're always developing and growing that area. More so now than ever. If we continue to grow and continue to develop, we want to make sure we're adding to what we're doing. So that's really important. But so far, I think based on the candidates that we've got and the number of candidates that keep coming back, I think we're seeing a really, really good job. And I do believe this brand will make a big difference to that as well. Absolutely,
it's the name that sticks in your mind. So
totally.
in the space of the next year, you've had a good year despite all the challenges. A lot of the competition are, I would say, having a tougher year, maybe because they're more traditional in their makeup. Where do you see Talent.com in the next 12 months?
Right. Okay. I think for us in the next 12 months. We're going to be doubling our revenues first and foremost. That's the goal. This year, when we looked at the numbers last month, Stephen, we were already up 30% compared to this time last year. So we're tracking well in terms of hitting our goals and targets. That's testament to the work that we're doing, but also the exceptional customer service that we provide. So every single customer will continue to receive 2 people. The account manager that brings them on, but also their performance analyst. And their job is to understand, okay, what are the goals? What are you trying to reach? What's your CPA goals? What's your cost per hire goals? And we fine tune that campaign to ensure we're delivering to the client's expectations. We've got weekly touch point calls. We've got monthly meetings. And they're really important to us. So I think we want to continue to ensure that from a customer perspective side of things, that we are at the forefront, looking after both our clients and our job seekers, the candidates.
And
we see that continuing for a fact. But doubling up in what we do is going to be key. Continuing to hire into multiple markets. We're already looking for a lot more people. And just expanding. I think next year will be a really big one for us.
One thing I forgot to ask earlier, are there particular sectors, employment sectors in the UK that you are strong in, or areas that you're looking to build up a strength in? Yeah,
definitely. I think what can I say? The hard hit areas, Stephen. The fitness that was hit really hard with this pandemic so far this year. Retail was hit very hard. Hospitality was another one. So we've seen some of those sponsored campaigns definitely go down this year. We expect a very sharp V increase in both sponsored campaigns and increase in jobs, as well as candidates next year. And I think that's going to be completely down to as soon as this pandemic is over.
Yeah.
Things will just change so quickly. Everyone wants to go away, right? So everything's going to change. Everyone wants to shop as soon as this is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put on their best suits.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, right now, where it sits in terms of the top 5 or 6 industries, it's peak at the moment season for like all of the supermarkets out there. So packers, pickers, warehouse, all those types of roles, delivery drivers.
Yeah.
We saw a 40% increase, so that's one of our strongest industries or sectors.
There are a couple of big changes coming that will have an effect on the employment market generally. Obviously, what we're seeing now is a lot of people not working in city centres as much as they were, working from home or working from distributed hubs outside big cities where there's less of a density. And that can mean that remote work and jobs advertised as remote, you could be in Cornwall or Aberdeen working for a company in Milton Keynes. You don't need to be within commuting distance of the employer in the same way. So you'll see that reflected in the vacancies that are advertised. But also, you were mentioning the pickers and packers, those types of jobs. With Brexit coming up, then that's going to have a big impact on the marketplace. Whether it's up or down, that's not my point. My point is that the different types of jobs will change, and the location of them is going to be quite a thing. So, with the gathered information that any good aggregator has, you're in possession of really valuable information about how the market is moving in the employment sector. And with, as you were saying, the technology, the algorithms in the background, the more you're able to learn from that information, that AI aspect, then the more you're able to deliver much more targeted responses first of all, for candidates. The more, if they're getting messages about jobs on their phone, then the more it's targeted, the more it feels of a service. And of course, for advertisers, the more the candidates are accurately targeted, then the richer the theme of people being found for vacancies is going to be. So those things are really, really important. And having the scale that you have means that you have more data to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pulling everything. We can fragment everything in terms of the data, really break it down. We're going to be releasing a lot more data out there. So that's something that's big for us. We're able to kind of identify where the market's going. I think the whole COVID situation has been tricky because we just know that personally, this is my own opinion, but as soon as there's a vaccine or a cure, I know that UK will bounce back very quickly. We saw the trends looking very different from market to market in terms of how they were impacted in the time of year. So, for example, the start of the year, around about February, already there was signs for Spain and Italy and issues there. So we saw that dipped before it even reached the UK. Then it came through to the UK, and we saw it going to the US. So it was kind of like a wave, and that was an interesting thing to see. And the different types of jobs that were impacted first, also very interesting. But I think next year we'll start to see things like construction, engineering pick up, education. I feel really confident on those industries starting to pick up. IT is already starting to show great signs of growth in terms of more jobs vacancies. We're seeing a lot more sponsored jobs. This time last month for UK, we're up 20% on sponsored campaigns.
Wow.
So we're already starting to see those types of trends. The key worker roles are still key, as they say, like they're still really important.
Of course.
Healthcare is really big for us. Next year, will that plateau a little bit? I think to some degree, but we're going to start seeing, like you say, this remote working is going to become, to some extent, the norm in some industries. A lot more work from home roles are going to become available. More and more people are now becoming interested in those types of roles as well. I think the balance of the two is ideal if you can get that. But those are really, really popular vacancies at the moment.
Noura, as always, absolutely fascinating finding out what's going on behind the scenes with talent. It's always really interesting how sites like yours are built and then establish and maintain their brand and their reputation, and are always be thinking about what can we do that's going to benefit candidates. And as I say, that's what the NORAs is all about. So I've just noticed the time. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure. Best of luck for the NORAs. Noura of the NORAs.
By the way, 20 years in the making. So congratulations.
20 years. Yeah. 20. I think I was 7 when I started the NORAs.
Yeah, I think you were about that. Yeah.
Clearly. So for anyone who doesn't know, and you really should, because we've been sending out more than a few social media messages. The awards are on the Tuesday the 10th at 3 p.m. And Best Newcomer, Talentcom is a candidate for that against some pretty stiff competition, it has to be said. Yes, we don't know who the winners are. We won't know until the day, but that'll be the big reveal. So Noura, can I just say, very best of luck. Congratulations for being a finalist, and thanks for joining me this morning. And thanks everyone who's watched live.
Watching and joining, appreciate you jumping on. Great to see some amazing names on there. Mary, Louise is online. Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Really
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will be back again with another show on Friday this week. I should, except of course I'm in the wrong tab, but I'm going to double check who our guest is for Friday. I think I'm going to have to double check on that and get back to you. But our next show on Friday will be with another fantastic guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, have a great week, and thanks for joining me, Noura.
Thank you. Have a really good week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.